Hey everybody, this is Mike with the One Stop Co-op Shop, and today I'm doing a solo playthrough for Pocket Paragons, a 1v1 quick-playing fighting game. And disclaimer that I was sent a review copy of a couple of the sets for this one. And I'll have a quick review of the solo system at the end of the video. And if you like the content on the One Stop Co-op Shop, consider supporting us through Patreon. You get early access to our videos and exclusive videos every month you can't see anywhere else. You can also listen to our podcast for more great reviews and discussions, or come and join the conversation on our Discord. So Pocket Paragons is a 1v1 brawling, dueling game, but it's super fast. An entire game can take maybe 3 to 5 minutes. You have two characters going against each other. All the ones I'm going to be showing are from the Acquisitions Incorporated Penny Arcade tie-in version of the game. And each character has a set of cards. And the basic gameplay is each turn you pick a card secretly, they pick a card secretly, you deal the damage indicated to each other, you resolve special effects, some cards will counter other cards and cancel them being played. And as you use cards, they're going to get exhausted, you won't be able to pick them anymore, and eventually you'll have to pick your rest action, which will get you all your cards back and also get you some energy. So lightning bolt symbol here, and that will often unlock your special power or give you like bonuses on your other cards. You also get energy when you counter cards correctly. So like this book lay on hands card counters my fist card, and if they play that when I play my fist, they'll get an energy. But a big thing about resting is one of the cards, this red attack card, has the execute ability, which means if it's played in the turn that they play their rest, they die immediately. But otherwise, you each start with 10 life, and whoever goes down to 0 first wins. Now, how the solo works, and some of this I had to print out myself because it's not fully publicly available yet. The solo cards for each character will tell you a certain subset of cards to use from this solo deck. There are the cards in the bottom right. And how it works is you pick your card first, and then you flip a card, and whichever one comes first that they have not already used, so like if they already used their book here, they would use their shield. If they had already used both, they rest. That will determine what action they take. An important thing, you always shuffle these back together and draw, so it's not like you get more information as cards come out. The entire deck is always used, well, the entire subset of the deck that is for that character. Each character also has a challenge mode that makes them way more powerful because the AI tends to be a little bit random and sometimes easy on solo. But what I like to do instead, they have sort of this survival mode where you have 3 characters that kind of go well together. And whenever you defeat one of them, you fully heal and go back down to 0 energy and get all your stuff back. But they give their best card to the next character. So I'm going to fight Evelyn, then Morgane, then Jim Dark Magic. But Evelyn's going to give Morgane her best card. Morgane and Evelyn's cards are going to go to Jim Dark Magic, and it just becomes a lot more tough. So I kind of like this as sort of a gauntlet survival mode instead of using their boosted challenge, although I could do that as well. So technically this is supposed to be a 3-on-3 gauntlet, so anytime I lose, I just use my next character. But what I'm going to show you in the video is me trying to beat all 3 in a row with only one character. Yay! So let me talk through the characters in the first fight. This is my character, Omen Dran. He's a bit of a tank. So everyone's got a shield card that'll block all the damage dealt in that turn. If he blocks, he heals 1, not bad. And he also has a really good healing card for his book, Cure Wounds. I guess he's a cleric. His attack execute card is Evensong. He only does 1 damage, but if he's built up at least 2 energy, he does 3 damage instead, which is pretty darn good. My blue Guiding Bolt is 2 damage, and it's piercing, which means if they stop the damage somehow, they take 1 unblockable damage instead. My rest card is a rest card. They're all the same. And then my strongest one by far is Divine Strike. It's a 3 damage attack. I block 1 of the damage they would deal to me, and then if I have 3+ damage, I block all the damage they would deal to me instead. And then my energy card is Prophet of Profit. It's a passive 1 energy card, which means it's inactive until I get at least 1 energy, and then it becomes active. Other characters will have like super attacks that spend all their energy, but Omen just builds energy up to get the boost I already mentioned for his other cards. But as long as he has at least 1 energy, whenever an enemy counters one of my abilities, I block 1 damage dealt to me this round. So being countered once I get an energy is not nearly as bad as usual. And first in the gauntlet is Evelyn. I think she's probably a paladin with a giant axe. Her best power by far is her Divine Smite, which does 3 damage like mine. And if she has 2 or more energy, then it also gets stun. Normally when you counter a card, they just get it back. It doesn't even exhaust, but with stun, whichever card they countered is exhausted as well. And then Vicious, if it counters, it does 6 damage instead of 3. And it counters my blue, by the way, so the fist always counters blue. Her blue is 1 damage, and if she has 1+ energy, she also blocks 1 damage. She's actually a very similar character to me. We're both kind of cleric-y, healing and fighting people. And then her green is also a healing one like mine, Lay on Hands. It doesn't heal as much as mine, but it readies itself unless it gets countered, since the vulnerable keyword means when it's countered, it's exhausted. So as long as I don't counter that, she can just heal and heal and heal over and over again. Her shield is kind of cooler than mine. Mine heals if I block damage. Hers, while it's exhausted, if she counters me, gets to ready again. So she loves countering. What she doesn't love is executing, because I guess she's a moral paladin. So she does not have execute. She has lawful. She can't execute me with her red. But it still does 3 damage, which is how much mine does when it's fully boosted. So that's not nice. And then, like me, she has a purple ability that gets unlocked. In her case, when she gets 3 energy, which is a lot of energy. But when she has that, she cannot be executed, and her abilities can't be countered. It's kind of crazy. So we want to defeat her before she gets to 3 energy for sure. And strategy-wise, you can look through what they have. As you might expect for her, her fist is going to be the most common attack, and then like her red is next. You can also figure that out by looking at their exhaust priority at the bottom of their card if you want like a quick cheat way to figure out what they're most likely to play. So yeah, her red or orange are most common, then her shield, and then her green and her blue are the least common to get played. So we know she's more likely to play her Divine Smite first. And the thing that counters that is my Cure Wounds, but the problem is my Cure Wounds heals 3, and if I counter it, I won't have any damage. So I think maybe I'll just play my Divine Strike versus her Divine Smite, hopefully, and hopefully she doesn't counter me. That'll be great. All right, so there's my card, and oh, okay, she's playing her red. So she does 3 damage to me. I do 3 damage to her, but I block 1 damage dealt. I don't have 3+ energy to block all of it. So those are both exhausted. She goes down to 7, and I go down to 8. And again, this card is shuffled back in, so all that stuff could happen again. But that was great. I love that her red is already gone, although I guess she can't execute me. So usually the game revolves a lot around the rest and the red attack action, because if you rest and they play their red, then you die. So you have to like kind of time your rest and hope they don't guess when you're going to rest. But in this case, she couldn't have auto-killed me anyway, so it's really not as much of a fear. All right, now what do I want to do this time? She's still very likely, even maybe more so, to play her fist. So I could counter it with Cure Wounds, and countering would get me an energy, which seems like maybe something I want to do, because now healing 3 is actually good, because I'm down 2 damage. So sure, I'll try to Cure Wounds, and she is... what the? Okay. She is also healing. So she heals 1, but her ability readies itself automatically, and I heal 3, and it's not ready. This is what happens when paladins and clerics fight each other. Okay, so I'm at 10 life, I'm back to full, and she's at 8. All right, next, I think it's kind of a waste, but I still think she's going to use her fist, so I'm just going to try to block all of it. And oh, she's using her shield? Okay. So we don't block anything. I didn't block any damage, so I don't heal, although I'm at full life. So that's exhausted, but if she counters me, that comes back automatically. Okay, so she's down to 4 cards, including her rest. And I'm down to 3 cards. Now, oh, she could rest and I could kill her, but she still has her fist. I got to imagine she's not going to rest yet. So maybe I go for Guiding Bolt. Try to do 2 damage to her while she maybe plays the fist and does 3 damage to me. It's countered by her book, but she's pretty unlikely to play her book. So let's try that. All right, so here we go. No! Wow. Okay, so here's how this works. She heals 1 and then readies it. I got countered, which means she gets 1 energy. Oh, and she's also at 9 life. Now, my card's not vulnerable, and her card didn't have stun, so my card actually comes back and is usable again. The counter doesn't mean that it gets exhausted. But yeah, she's got an energy now, which means that now Nature's Wrath is going to block 1 energy. When she rests, Divine Smite is going to be crazy. Crud. Usually I defeat her pretty quickly, but she's getting all the right things going on now. All right, well, there's no way she's going to do that again, right? Let's try Piercing again. Oh, wait a second. Do I have everything I just said backwards? That counters fist. I counter book. What am I talking about? Okay, so hold on. So her thing got countered, and it's vulnerable, which means it is exhausted. That's what the vulnerable keyword means. She goes down to 6 life, does not have any energy. Jeez, Mike, come on. The Pierce ability would take effect if she had blocked my damage. She did not. And I get an energy for countering her, and now it's also exhausted. Okay, so now she's got Nature's Wrath, Rest, or Divine Smite. Somehow she still has Divine Smite. And now because I have at least 1 energy, my Prophet of Profit ability is activated. So if she counters me, I get to block 1 of the damage despite the counter. So what I want to do here, I think she's still way more likely to use Divine Smite than to rest. So I think I'm going to rest. That'll get me my 2nd energy, and that way Evensong will be 3 damage instead of 1, and that should be a nice way to try to finish her off. Okay, so I'm going to rest, and let's see what she does. No. Wow, yeah, okay. She rested too. Dang it, if I'd played my red, she would have been dead. So she readies all her abilities and gets 1 energy. Still not enough for Praise of the Sun. She's just at 1. And I do the same, and now I'm at 2 energy, so the only thing I'm missing is the boost to Divine Strike to block everything at 3 energy. And yeah, I think I'm just gonna attack. So let's do Divine Strike, because with only 6 life left, I don't know if she can do very much. Ah, there we go. Finally, she's doing hers. Okay, so she does Divine Smite. She does not have 2 energy yet. I do Divine Strike, so I'm doing 3 damage to her. She's doing 3 to me, but I'm blocking 1 of it. So she's down to 3, and I'm at 8. And let's go for the red. It's an auto kill unless she blocks or heals or something. All right, and nope, she's doing her red, so that'll be all she wrote. She does 3 damage to me, bringing me to 5, but I do 3 to her, bringing her to 0. So that was the first match down. That was supposed to be the super easy one, but it took a little bit longer than I thought. So I fully reset. I go back to 10 life. I go back to 0 energy. Again, this is just in the gauntlet mode. And now they're going to switch to a new character, but they get to give 1 card to the character. So Morgaine's not very strong Colossus Slayer, boop, is going to be replaced by Evelyn's Divine Smite. So now her deck is stronger, but let's meet Morgaine and get to fight number 2. So Morgaine appears to be a mercenary ranger. She starts out with her purple ability ready to go, begins the game ready, which is an unusual thing, but she's a mercenary and she's been paid in advance, so it's a 2 damage attack, and clearly it's purple, so there's no counters to it or anything. And then when she uses it, it gets stored, which I just tilts like it's exhausted. And she loses 2 energy, so she wants to kind of use this before she gains any energy. And then anytime she gets up to 2 energy, she will ready it again. So this is how most characters tend to be. They build up energy, use a super attack, and then lose it again, which doesn't combo great with Divine Smite, but it's still a 3 damage attack, so I don't think she cares much. Her pass without trace defense is the same as mine. If she blocks, she heals 1. Her rest is the same. She has just a single damage red attack, but hers does execute, so I gotta make sure I don't rest at the wrong time if that's still ready. Her book, Entangle, has the Grab 1 ability. If I don't deal her damage or play a grab, then she deals me 1 unblockable damage. And if it deals damage, I have to also exhaust an ability of my choice. That one's pretty dang good. And then her favorite attack, it's great, is Precise Shot. It's a blue 2. It is vulnerable, which means if you counter it, it gets exhausted. But if it hits, dealing at least 1 damage, then I have to exhaust my red or take 2 more damage. So this is going to be a 4 sometimes. Yikes. And I've changed out the activation cards. Now, one thing to note about the Gauntlet mode is that even though they give other characters their cards, they don't actually change up the activation cards. So even though she's got an awesome fist, she's pretty unlikely to use it. She still kind of thinks in her AI that it's bad. What she is very likely to use before the fist is Paid in Advance or Precise Shot. The fist will probably be her 3rd choice. So I could try to counter Precise Shot, but she's more likely to use Paid in Advance first because she wants to use it before she gets any energy. So let's try, I don't know, Guiding Bolt. Let's try to hit her a little bit to equal the damage she's going to deal. Yes, perfect. Okay, so she did use Paid in Advance. So she does 2 damage to me. She would lose 2 energy, but she doesn't have any. I do 2 damage to her. So for my next one, she's very likely to use Precise Shot. That's her best ability. And Divine Strike will counter it. And if it counters it, since it's vulnerable, it'll also get exhausted. So, it's a little bit of a crapshoot, but let's see if I get lucky. Yes, okay, perfect. That's just what we wanted to happen. So this gets exhausted. I don't need to block 1 damage. I do 3 to her. She's down to 5. This looks like it might be a faster fight than the last one. And because I countered, I gain 1 energy, which is going to activate my Prophet of Profit, them countering me bonus ability. This is great. She's already half dead. What's she most likely to use now? Probably red or orange. Which means maybe I do my shield just to block in any case. Or I could do Cure Wounds. It would counter. Although that would just cancel it. Wouldn't actually exhaust it. See, I think maybe I'll try Nightforge Plate. I would love if she played her red so that I can safely rest and not be afraid of her executing me. But we'll see how that goes. And oh, she's doing her shield. So neither of us heals anything. Yay, that was a waste. Okay, crowd, this is the scary part of the game. The scariest part where you're not sure if you can rest or not. I think maybe I hold off because yeah, I could definitely get killed. Let's try my Cure Wounds, I guess. I think she has like a 50-50 chance of hitting me with red, and once it's exhausted, I'm totally safe. Darn it. What is she doing? Oh man, she's entangling me? Oh, this is bad, y'all. So she's gonna grab me for 1 damage. Now I have no idea. The rules do not say at all what the order of resolution is. Do I heal 3 before she does the 1 damage or after? Since I'm doing pretty well, we'll say it's before. So I go to 10, then she grabs me for 1, so I'm at 9. But then I also have to exhaust an ability. Oh god, y'all, I'm dead. No, I'm dead. Should have just rested because look, I have to exhaust an ability. You can never choose to exhaust your rest, which means all I have left is rest. And the AI is smart enough that if all you have is your rest card and they have their red card, they will automatically play it. So I am executed and dead. There goes my run. No. Now, again, in the real gauntlet mode, I would get another character and go again, but this is like my little challenge solo mode that I like to do. But hey, just for fun, let's look at Jim Dark Magic, the character that you didn't get to see. Sorry, Jim. So he has an awesome book. It is vulnerable. If you counter it, it just gets canceled and exhausted, but it does 4 damage, which is crazy. This red one, the twins, does 2 damage, and they can't heal this round, and of course also executes. He has a great block. If it doesn't block any damage, it gets readied, which is friggin' awesome. His fist is not bad. Your enemy must exhaust an ability, and then if he has 1 or more energy, he blocks 1 damage, but it doesn't actually do any damage, and neither does his blue one. The cool thing about that one is that if it counters, he gets 2 energy instead of 1, and he needs a lot of energy because his Gym Ultra Kill Blaster Plus means the enemy can't heal this round. If they block this attack, they still take 2 damage, but it costs 3 energy to unlock it, and then you lose all your energy when you use it, but it's 5 damage. And if I had made it through the gauntlet, instead of his just exhaust a card, he would have had a 3 damage monster. Instead of his just stun something, he would have had a 2 damage plus 2 monster. Yeah, he's very strong in the gauntlet. I didn't beat him in my last 2 tries, and this time I didn't even make it to him, so sadness. But that's okay, let's drop it at 2 fights and get to my little mini review. So talking about Pocket Paragons. First, just to get something out of the way that's important because this is me doing the review, this is not Exceed. This is not BattleCon. This is not Sakura Arms. This is not like any of the level 99, much more complex and bigger and more expensive fighting games that I adore. This one, you get a ton of characters in a very smallish box. It's super easy to learn. It takes, again, maybe 3 to 5 minutes to play a match. So you can play it like easily on your lunch break or in between meetings or whatever. So it's going for something very different. But that being said, the characters do have some nice variety between them. Yes, some cards are pretty basic or are repeated across characters, but their purple ability is always unique, and they always have some cool things that are all their own. So it's not as much asymmetry as you might see in some of those bigger fighting games I mentioned, but it's solid, and it does make it fun to try out different characters. And the heart of the gameplay is that second guessing, trying to predict your opponent kind of thing. And this is something you see in a lot of fighting games, and it's sometimes frustrating, like where you just don't get to do anything because your opponent predicted you perfectly. The nice thing they did here is that for the majority of cards, if they counter you, like if he played a Fireball and I played Divine Strike, his card gets exhausted, but mine doesn't. I can still play it again with full knowledge that you will not be able to counter it. So countering is still useful, it's still powerful, and if their card is vulnerable, it does get rid of it for a while. But I like the way they made the countering and the guessing, second guessing yourself and your opponent's choices, not as punishing and prescribed as other games. Now, that being said, the rest attack thing is very punishing and is kind of the heart of the game. Like, if you don't get that right, you die. And that's both fun and exciting, and also sometimes a little bit annoying and frustrating in competitive play or solo, because, you can get everything right and then lose at the last second. But I think that's also to the game's credit, because again, it's only like a 5-minute game, so who cares if you happen to lose to a red attack? And it always keeps you involved. Like, you could have 1 life, and your opponent could have 10, and you still have a chance of getting that big strike on them and finishing them off, which I think tends to make it pretty exciting. And the solo mode does the job. You saw it can be challenging. Now, it's very random, but I like that you can somewhat predict what they're going to play based on the cards in the deck. And as they run out of options, things become clearer and clearer. Yes, it does feel like sometimes you have sort of a set strategy against a given opponent, but your character is going to change that. And if they just kind of happen to randomly pull a card you didn't expect them to and exhaust something that you didn't expect to be exhausted, that'll change up that strategy. So solo is not necessarily the best way to play. You're going to have more fun with it with another player, but I love that this exists. I love that it's supported. All the other games I mentioned, I had to make the solo modes myself. So yeah, this is a cool element here. Although it's not, from my understanding, it's not in every set. Like, I think if you get this Pocket Paragon set, you need to either print and play the solo cards or buy a different set. So if you don't like PnPing and you just want to get this set, for example, that might not be the best. It might be frustrating that you can't get the solo as easily. So that's Pocket Paragons. Not my favorite fighting game of all time. Not going to like blow you away with amazingness, but it does exactly what it sets out to do. It's a fun, quick fighting game. I think it certainly has a place in people's collection. I really enjoy it. And at the end of some videos, we like to thank our co-op champions, our biggest supporters on Patreon. So I'd like to give a shout out to Minkus, J. Willie MF, and Steve Wren. Thanks, patrons, and thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you at the next stop.